everybody. Listen, and welcome to another Tapped In magazine. We're chatting it up with some of the top 25 influential leaders, and I am so excited. We have an amazing, beautiful influential leader that is a part of our Tapped In magazine, and she's going to be joining us tonight. She's going to be telling us all this good juice about her business and what she has going on. And I'm so super excited to introduce her to you all. So listen, I want you to be able to introduce yourself, tell our listeners and audience who you are, what you do, and then we're just going to jump into some questions. Does that sound okay?
That's fine.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. So my name is Chanel Nicole Scott, and I'm the creator and executive producer of Comministry, a relationship platform, which is a television show on the Fox Soul Network. Essentially, what I do is I like to have transparent, candid conversations with influential or celebrities about relationships and some of the issues that plague society or people today. Some of the more known issues like trauma bond and rejection, cheating, things of that nature. So we hash it out. We get real raw on the platform. I like to invite a good balance of women and men. And we just, we peel the layers apart. We ask questions. We give our perspectives, our opinions, and then we arrive at a place of healing.
Wow. Okay, so listen, me and you real good, because guess what? We just like to have just that down home conversation. Look, yes. No filters, no edits or nothing.
Okay.
So tell us how did you get started with everything? Now, I know that a little bit of your article, it had a lot of good information, and I hope you all got a copy of Tapped In magazine and read her beautiful article, but tell us a little bit how you got started. What was really your passion behind everything that you started?
Well, Comministry, like I said, is a relationship platform. And essentially I had a number of failed relationships in my younger years, and I wanted to understand the male perspective. I had experienced a church hurt where I believe that a gentleman was my husband and he was not. And I watched him marry, and he was actually a leader in the church. And so typically when we experience any type of heartbreak or any hurt for that matter, we typically go to church for comfort, but I didn't have that as an outlet, right? And so I had to kind of suffer in silence. I didn't really have anyone that I can share and be honest, because as a single woman in church, and anytime you mention a relationship, and especially involving a leader in the church, right, that's taboo, right? And so it's taboo. Nobody, that I'm going to be judged. As the woman, that's just how it is. It goes back to biblical days. We get the judgment. And so I wanted to create a space free of judgment where we could be transparent, vulnerable. And I know that if I was experiencing that, I know there are a lot of other women who went through the same experience, especially with the church, because most people are ashamed. They carry a certain amount of guilt. They don't want people to know. But I'm like, I want to talk about it. Right. I didn't have that outlet where I could just be free to speak, because I found when you are able to just get it off your chest, you feel so much better. And then it's even better when you're surrounded by other women and other people who have had similar experiences, or who can provide some type of a perspective to kind of help us navigate through that. People who have already gone through it, they can teach those who are going through it, like how they navigated the journey and what happened and how they arrived on the other side of healing. So that is where Comministry came from. It was just a place where I wanted to just be free to speak. And it was an event. It was a live event. I've been doing the live event here in Atlanta for the last 7 years. And the very first time I did it in 2015, I knew that it was going to be a television show. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but that's what I saw. And I wasn't even the face of it at the very beginning. I was the brains behind it, but I wasn't the face of it. And then I hired a publicist, and she was like, I'm not going to represent you unless you're the face of it. And I'm like, huh? I don't do public speaking. That's not my thing. I'm the one behind the scenes. She was like, no, you got to be the face of it. And so that's how I ended up being the face of the platform. And it just grew. I just watched it evolve over the years. Relationships are never going to go out of style, right? Somebody's always going to have an issue in the context of relationships. And it has really helped people to be able to talk about it. Like, I promote the topic so people who can relate to the topic, or who have had some experience with the topic, they come to the show, they want to hear about it, they want to talk about it, they want to ask questions. And so it's just lit. It's just lit from here.
You know what? Okay, listen, even though when you see me, listen, one of the things that we do here at Tapped In Magazine, because we like to give some resources and some nuggets, I'm always taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope all you listeners, listen, she didn't gave a lot of good juice. I hope you didn't got your pen and paper, and I hope you taking some notes, because you know, note takers are money makers. So let's go back just a little bit, because you made some good points. Even being in the church, you're right, it's really difficult for women to kind of come out, because you're right. I always look, some people look at church as being the hospital, come in and get, fixed, well, and done. But a lot of times we can't really relate to and tell our stories, because again, from being judged. I love that aspect of what you do. But now, even when you just kind of laid it out there and you said, listen, I'm just going to plant the seed, and this is going to be a television show. I mean, tell us some of the steps that it took to get to that point.
One of the things, even as a marketer, because my background is marketing, I have an MBA with a concentration in marketing. It was important for me to develop the brand. That was the most important thing. Before I even charged $1 for someone to come in and watch the event at the time, I invested in myself, number one, and I just developed the brand. I positioned it in the marketplace. I appealed to my demographic. And every time I had an event, I learned something. It continued to grow. I learned something new, either with something that I could add to it or something that I needed to take away. But nonetheless, I strengthened just by doing it over and over, because I told you I wasn't a public speaker. That just wasn't my thing. And then I didn't realize that God had put something in me that I hadn't even tapped into. A lot of times we don't even know what our purpose is. Most times people recognize it before you recognize what it is that He has called you to do. And so I continue to develop the gift of just speaking publicly and just really speaking from the heart and being authentic. That's the most important thing. And then when I felt like it had got to a place where I could charge, then I began to charge. And I at that time, I wanted to give them something that they felt good about paying for. So I made sure that the people had an experience. I would always choose a nice venue, where people would be like, wow, when they come in and, put energy and effort into making it, like fun and just a whole experience. When they walked away with practical principles, but they also had a overall experience when they came into ministry. And then as we continue to grow, we connected with more influencers, and people, like, they liked it. They wanted to talk about it. Like, yes, I like this. And just connecting and networking with different people, and also investing in a publicist. I did that after my second show, my third show, I had a publicist. And that was the one way that I could connect with influencers, because I was new to Atlanta. So I didn't know anybody. Right. And so when I connected with her, she was able to connect me to influencers, all based on relationships. Sometimes influence is worth more than money. Like, you have all the money in the world, and if you don't have influence, you have nothing. Right. And so we had relationships. And so she was able to connect me with influencers, and then it continued to grow. And then after a while, people knew about the brand, and they would come to us and say, hey, I want to be a part. That's kind of how it is now. Hey, I want to be a part. How can I be a part? And then back in 2020, right in the midst of COVID, I had an opportunity to pitch to Fox Soul. And at the time it was COVID, and the head of the network, James Bowles, he loved the concept, but he was like, we're in COVID, and I love to see this in the studio. And I'm like, oh my God, we can't meet up in person, right? It's even like something I learned from that in hindsight, because God, He moves providentially, and He knows even when we don't know. And so what I did was, he liked the concept, but I couldn't do anything. He told me when to expect. That date came and went. But what I did was, when we relaunched it back as a live event, when I was able to produce like clips and things that I could show him, and I just kept the line of communication open. I use Instagram. I would DM the man and say, hey, I got some show ideas, and I would send him show ideas. And so finally, after all of that, just going back and forth, just, keeping the line of communication open, he called me up one day and was like, you guys still have the show? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, I want to see it. I was like, say less. And so I actually flew him to Charlotte, North Carolina. I made an investment, and prior to that, I was able to garner his interest in coming to see it, but it was my publicist who was like, wait a minute, we got to make sure we're on the same page. So I need to set up a Zoom just so he understands what the expectation is. See, I'm all emotional. I'm emotionally connected. I don't want to ask the man. I'm just glad he coming. You're not going to make that type of investment without, having an end goal tied to it. And so we did the Zoom, and by the time we jumped off the Zoom, he was talking to us about doing a pilot. If he liked the concept, he was willing to do a pilot with us. And so he came, he loved it, and we did the pilot, and the rest is history.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Listen, that was a lot of good juice. Okay, one of the things, like a lot of times, it's hard for people to invest in themselves because they don't really understand the longevity and where it can go. And you just proved, listen, you invested in yourself, took a chance, and now look where you are on Fox Soul.
Absolutely.
I hope everyone is listening to that, because sometimes you have to step out. God knows what's going to happen. I mean, he's going to open up the doors. He's opened up those doors before you even knew that it was coming. But guess what? He told you to do certain things, and then now look what happened.
I did let me add one piece of
go ahead.
To know is that sometimes when I was upset, to be honest, when he said that we needed to wait. He wanted to, because I wanted to do this. I wanted to do the StreamYard, the Zoom thing, because it was COVID, right? I was like, no, I want to do it. Even though we had always did the live event and like in front of a live audience, I was like, no, I want to do it. When we was presented with the opportunity, because I didn't understand the business, and I didn't understand their business model. Their business model required us to produce a completed show and present it to them. And when they decided that they liked it, then we signed a contract and they paid, they licensed that content. Had the opportunity been presented to me when I initially pitched it, I would not have even had the funding.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yes, that's a good one.
So it's all about time. God knows. So if it's not working out, there's a reason why it's not working out, because I would have missed it. Like it would have just went. It would not have ever happened. Production is expensive. So when the time was right, when we came back around, well, I was ready then. I was like, okay, what we got to do? And so I was able to do it without stress and strain. That's how I know it was anointed by God to do. I didn't struggle to get it done. I did struggle along the way. There is struggle, but when it was time to like really show up and be prepared, I was ready, and I just want to say that that's important, that timing. It's like, you have to know that this is God, because I didn't have the money a year ago. I just didn't. But when he was ready, I was ready. When this man was interested in bringing us on, I was ready. So God knows.
You know what? I love it, because, my saying is, and all you listeners know what my saying is, the blessings in the show up. And you just kept showing up, and look at the blessings that you got.
Absolutely.
You were able to make those connections, and no matter what, now there is some juggle and struggle that take place, but guess what? But if you keep showing up, the blessings will come.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, we get kind of lost in that, it didn't work, or this, that, and the other. So now I want to just take a step back and go back. So what are some key things that you can maybe say to some people right now? Maybe give us 3 good golden nuggets that, people are struggling in relationships. What are some things that you can say? I know communication is the most important.
Absolutely. I think before we even get to the point where we're in a relationship, it's important to know your purpose. You got to know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you're going to be looking for validation and affirmation through somebody else, and you're never going to be happy. You're going to be looking for someone else to make you happy, and you're not ever going to be happy until you know who you are, what you were created to do, and walk in that. Because then when you meet someone and it doesn't work out and you're in purpose and you know who you are, it's going to roll off your back. It's going to be like, oh, you don't like me? Oh, it didn't work. Oh, okay. You're not even going to have time to sit and dwell on that, because you're going to be so busy in purpose that you're not going to have time, right? That's the first thing, just being, and then the second thing would just be content in who you are and where you are. And I know that sounds cliche, because I used to feel the same way. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm missing something. Like, do you not see how long I've been single? But no, it's really important, because you don't come across as being desperate or thirsty, because you are content and who you are. And then the second one would be, the third one rather would be, have good standards and stick by them. I heard someone talk about this the other day about having fake standards, and that blew my mind. Fake standards, what is that? And when we meet someone new, we come across like, I'm not going to tolerate this, I'm not going to do that. And then the moment they back away or something happened, and we trying to latch on to them when we just said we wasn't going to tolerate this, we wasn't going to do that. But then when we feel threatened that they're going to leave, then we become clingy and needy. No, stick to those standards. This person said fake standards. He said that's what you call fake standards. I was like, I never heard it. You're right.
That's a new word you can add. Fake standards.
But yeah, stick to your standards, stick to your values, and people will treat you. Got to teach people how to treat you. I even tried. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be transparent because I keep it real. I had a gentleman, and I actually dated him in the past, and in this particular season, we're friends, but we still have that familiarity with each other, and we had a going back and forth the other day, and I said what the standard was. This is what it is, and this is what I'm going to do. We parted ways. I went about my day. I didn't even think about it no more. It was out of my mind. He texted me and apologized. This man has never apologized for nothing. But because I stuck to the standard and I'm like, no, this is how this is going to go. Not that you got to be over the top, but just within reason, this is how I want to be treated if you're going to engage me, right? Mm-hmm. And he apologized. I was blown away. I was like, Lord, I said, I wouldn't even believe it about it and see it for myself. But I'm gonna tell you, you be so busy in purpose, you don't even have time. There was a time the same person had to communicate and say, hey, I don't think we were trying it out again. I said, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm over here doing my own thing. And I don't really believe this is what God wants me to do. And it kind of hurt me to even say that, but I knew I needed to say that because I need to clear out space for who God has for me. Right. And in that moment, I felt myself being a little bit sad, but then my phone rang about purpose. And it was like, if I was sad, I don't even know what happened to it. I forgot I was sad. And then that night when I got home and I was sitting on the couch just reflecting on my day, I was like, dang, I was sad, but I don't know what happened to that because whatever that phone call was, it took my mind completely off of it. And it's like, I was like, that's how that works? Because I don't even remember what I was trying to feel. I was trying to be sad, but my purpose wouldn't allow me to be sad because I ain't had time.
No, we ain't got time for sadness. No. But listen. Listen. I tell a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, listen, we have to show up as ourselves, as authentically as ourselves, because what you get is, who I am is what you're gonna get. And I know that just like you said in relationships, that works because, like he said, fake standards. I mean, like if I'm gonna fake it, it's never gonna come out and be right anyway. Right. And that works with business. I mean, if I have to pretend to be somebody else just to get your business, then it's not gonna work anyway.
Right. Absolutely. And sometimes we think that we're in that space, but then you find out that you got to do a little bit more work, got to do a little bit more work. And I see that with God, he'll take us through some things relationally, because the only way I'm able to speak to this is if I have the experiential knowledge tied to it. I have gone down through them and I used to cry like, why is it so difficult for me? But now I realize that having gone through that, it has strengthened my resolve where things don't impact me like it would back, years ago. It's just like, oh, okay, whatever, moving on, so, don't get upset, guys. Don't fret.
Right. You really got to take your feelings out of it and understand the purpose, because a lot of times we put our feelings into it. And just like you said, we're hanging on to something that ain't there for us. It's not meant for us. That's right. One of the questions here is, would you consider relationships more business? I mean, like, are we entering into these relationships as business? I mean, like, how should we enter in? I know you made a quick point, but I just want to address their question.
You know what? That's my own personal perspective. A lot of times it start off that way because when you're in purpose, you come into people who have similar goals and purposes as you do for business. And then while you're doing this business or this purpose, you're like, hey, we got really good chemistry. It's a good vibe here. And then you find out you got things in common with that person. Next thing you know, you're like, okay, we got, because the relationship is always bigger than us. It's about what we're going to do for the kingdom. The romantic part is that's the bonus, y'all.
That's
Because
the
God,
bonus.
and when you are intentionally seeking God to do this, when you are intentional about that, like real, then He's gonna bring you together with someone where you have a greater purpose in the both of you, and it's something that you're gonna do for the kingdom. And then you get the romantic and all the other stuff that come with it. That's bonus. that's bonus. So I just prefer, because people say, well, you got to put yourself out there. No, I just got to do my purpose. He gonna work the rest out. He gonna work the rest. God is providential. He'll connect you with the right person at the right time. You just do what you're supposed to do. You don't gotta go to no bar and go here and there to meet anybody. Just do your purpose. That's it.
Okay, we got one more question. So listen, what about the 3-strike rule? And I know, listen, when people got into relationships at the very beginning, they was like, look, I'm gonna give them 3 strikes and third strike you out. I mean, what's your thought process on that? What do you think about that?
I think that's too rigid. I think that's where the communication comes in, and now he can't be a repeat offender now. He can't be doing the same thing after y'all done had a conversation and he keep doing that. He doesn't respect you at that point. But if it's something, you're getting to know someone who has a history, right? When two people are coming together, it's a coming together of two people's history clashing. So you're going to have to work through that and have open, honest communication. Be transparent. Don't be afraid to express how you feel. If he can't accept it, then move on. He ain't the one anyway. But it's important, because some people say, well, oh, that person's toxic, or no, have a conversation, because none of us are perfect. And we all come with flaws and issues and things that we've picked up over the years. But it's important to just have open, honest communication. And then if that person is the person for you is going to be receptive, and then you guys are going to create a strategy where you both can work through it together. You don't have to run off just because he do something you don't like. Have a conversation first.
Yes. Now, I mean, and typically that's what happens, I don't know if it's I call it the new society or whatever, of how relationships are going. I mean, like young kids is raising their, it's just a whole tool of things that are taking place. Relationships are not like how they used to be.
Right.
When you see parents, married, 30, 40, 50 years, had, they understood the juggles and struggles of what it took to be in a relationship, and they just kept going. Now people just like, look, it's over with, it's done, right. And not really understanding their purpose or even why they even got together from.
Absolutely. That whole he cute, she cute, that's not going to sustain a relationship. It's just
it's not no lasting, no.
Sustain the relationship. It's about does he have character, good character? Does he operate in integrity, right? Does he have substance? What is it that you like? You got to find out what you like too. That's important, because they got, he got to find out what he like. It go both ways, because a lot of times us women, we make it one-sided, like it's all about us. No. It's not all about us as in us woman, but it's all about the both of us. It's about what he wants too. He got a whole life, and he on his journey too. So it got to work for him too. Right. So I want to get that, because now these women, they think it's just about them. No, ma'am, it's not. It's about him too.
Right. Really. And, I just want to say this last thing too. You know what? Let's have let's get the right mentality too when it comes into this relationship, because it's not about, the money aspect of it. I talk to a lot of people and they be like, well, as long as he have enough money to take care of me, this, that, and the other, I'll go along with the process. But it's not about that. I mean, you made some good points. It's about the character.
It's about the character.
Yes.
And you better know you got to have something to bring to the table. It ain't about how much money he got, because if he got money to bring to the table, he looking at what you bringing too. That's important.
So that's why them extras gonna have to come in, that you don't want to put up with. But them extras don't have to kick in.
Absolutely, because you don't want to be in a relationship where somebody is completely taking care of you and dictating and telling you when you can go and when you can come and all that. No, you got to have your own stuff and y'all come together as a partnership. It's about partnership.
Okay, Ms. Lady. So what's next for you? What do you have going on that we can help promote you, help get what do you have going on that we can help participate with you?
Well, the first thing is our next show airs on December 26th, right on Fox Soul. You can watch it on Fox Soul app. You can go to Samsung TV. You can go to Amazon Fire, or you can just go to YouTube and Google Fox Soul Ministry and watch it live. But it does air on Monday, December 26th at 10 p.m. I also have a new book that's going to be released in 2023. It'll probably be January 2023. We were actually talking about the release date today. So I know it's going to be January, the first part of the year, but I do have a new book coming out that's entitled Relationships Matter. And I talk about some of my own personal experiences, but I lace it with practical principles and just kind of help people navigate through the journey who may have experienced certain things. Like I deal with like trauma bonding. You know, that's a thing. It's always been there, but we got a name for it, right? So just helping people to identify some of the issues that they may have been experiencing, but they didn't know what it was. They didn't have a name for it. They know like when they read my experience, they're gonna be like, I went through that. So that's what that's called. Okay, so now this is what I have to do. This is how I have to navigate that. So that's kind of how the book is formatted.
Okay. Now, I have just another quick question. So do you do any like one-on-one coaching or any of that?
So I know people want to, I do have the experiential knowledge as it pertains to relationships, but I am not a relationship expert. I'm not a relationship coach. I do have an undergrad degree in social work, so I understand human behavior. So a lot of my skill set comes in just understanding human behavior, and I can interpret just about any situation. Like if you say, Chanel, this is what's happening. I could pretty much tell you what's going on. Like I could pretty much interpret it and say, hey, this is what happened. But that came with a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and it's just experiential knowledge and just understanding how people move and operate in their behaviors. But I'm not the expert. Every show that I have, I do invite an expert, someone who is actually skilled in that. So
love it. So now how can people audition to get on your show? Is there a certain, or do you just have a certain platform that you, or is there, can people?
No, if there is a topic or something that maybe you feel like you want to talk about or, discuss in detail, transparent, like keep it real, then you can just email prteam@epimediagroup.com. Yeah, PR team at EPI Media Group, and the producers will get your email and then they'll review it. And if it's matched, then you might get a phone call. But it's all about who can relate to a topic. Like whenever we have a show, we have a topic that I choose, and then we invite guests who can actually speak to that particular topic.
Okay. So are you going to be doing another live event soon?
Yes, I don't want to announce the date just yet, but we do have something slated the first part of the year. Our next episode, we're actually off for the month of December just because of the holidays, but then we'll be right back to it in January 2023. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I got everything answered over here. So listen, I'm so excited, for you to be a part of Tapped In Magazine and being one of the top influential. I can see, amazingly, why you're one of the top influential leaders of 2022. And I can't wait to do some more with you. Listen, do you have any more last words for our audience or for our listeners?
No, guys, just look, tap into purpose, find out what your purpose, start there, start with purpose, and then you'll be able to move and prepare and get ready for that relationship that God has for you. That would be my parting word. Start with purpose. Because I asked for a husband and God gave me purpose. So I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, look, no better way to end it then. Listen, if you're interested in being a part of Tapped In Magazine, please go to the link below, tappedinmagazine.org, and we'd love to feature you on the front cover of our magazine. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.